Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
This green screen always gives me something to look forward to. I never know if I'm going to look like a ghost or just a regular person. Welcome back to Superhuman Radio. We have a really important show today. They're all important shows. I know those of you who listen to every show must think, Carl, every show isn't important. Well, to somebody it is, maybe not to you. I think this show is going to be more important to most people today. We're going to be talking about a new book called Primal Uprising by my friends Keith and Michelle Norris. And the timing of the release of this book couldn't be better on the heels of this scamdemic and what this nation has just been through. It's evident a couple things here that the healthy people were not afraid of this virus. And the majority of people out there who are the people who have basically crapped on their lives for so long. But it's not necessarily all their fault. And we're going to figure this out here in a minute. Before we get started with that, of course, I want to thank our title sponsor, and that's Legendary Foods. They make the tasty pastry, which started out as a Pop-Tart, and it's become so much more. It's flaky. The crust is light, kind of like something you'd expect in an apple turnover. Amazing flavors: strawberry, blueberry, brown sugar, cinnamon, birthday cake, red velvet cake, chocolate cake. What am I missing? I'm missing something. I know I'm missing one of them. Every couple of weeks they come out with a new flavor. People love them so much they can't get enough of them. And why? Because less than 1 gram of sugar and 20 grams of high quality protein means this is a snack that will make you feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary. Use the code SHR10 to save 10% off. And of course, we give tasty pastries away every day here. Listen during the commercial breaks. When you hear the secret word, email that secret word to onair@superhumanradio.net. Include your mailing address, and we will send you a box. It doesn't get any better than that. Now, my friends, Keith and Michelle Norris. How you guys doing?
Great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, fantastic, Carl. Thanks.
Of course. It's been a while. Last time we were together, Keith, you and I was with Ken O'Neill on the show, right?
Yeah, that has been a while. It certainly has. Yeah.
So those who know who you are know you from Paleo FX, an amazing event that occurred every year in Austin, Texas, because the paleo lifestyle was much more to you, Keith, especially. When it started out as diet, but you just took it to a completely different. You said, well, wait a minute. If the diet of our ancestors was good for us, maybe the lifestyle holds some secrets. Isn't that kind of how you and Michelle started the whole Paleo FX movement?
Yeah. So the thing is that what did kind of start out mostly as diet, because we wanted to get this information out to people, really did more into the lifestyle, because at the end of the day, there's a million paleo diets. Like every single person's paleo diet looks very, very different. And one person's paleo diet may look very carnivore, and another paleo diet may look very vegetarian, and both of those fit. And so it's really about what's best for the individual, because we're all created completely differently and we all have separate needs. I eat completely different than Keith does. And It's I mean, we obviously eat dinner together and everything. So sometimes he has stuff in at dinner that I don't. Like, I don't do well with sweet potatoes, which is kind of odd, but I do much better with like white potatoes. And but we've done all of the testing. We know all of the things. So he will eat more sweet potatoes and rice and things like that because he can, and I eat less of that stuff. And so it's just, so it started out nutrition, and now it's really, really, really moved heavily into the lifestyle because, as we know, epigenetics are far more important than your genetics because we can manipulate our genetics through our epigenetics. And so one of the components, the biggest component of PaleoFX is all the epigenetics.
Right.
We believe in, and in the book, we talk about the 7 pillars of health. And in the 7 pillars of health, it's not just the physical, it's mental, emotional, relational, financial, spiritual, and then tribal. And tribal is really super important because, as everybody has seen over the last 18 months, when we were told that we could not gather, we were told that we couldn't be with our loved ones, we couldn't even go to the hospital if you had somebody in the hospital. Weddings are now on Zoom.
Church.
Couldn't go to church, couldn't do all of these things. So everybody has started to really notice and see how the tribal piece particularly is really important to optimum health. And that is everything from physical, mental, emotional, the relational specifically, and then it gets into the spirituality of it. And then, of course, we were lots of people, not everybody, but because obviously a lot of people got a lot wealthier last year, but a lot of people ended up with a lot less financial health.
Right.
And so when we talk about all of these in the book, and we talk about all of these at PaleoFX, and that includes, regenerative agriculture, sustainability, decentralization of markets, decentralization of education, of financial markets, of healthcare, of all of these things, because we do not have a healthcare system. We have a sick care system that is built on maintaining and keeping people in disease because there is no money in cures. And so we educate people and we call out in, it's called Don't Buy Into the Bigs. And we call out big pharma, we call out big ag, we call out big tech, we call out big business, we call out big banking. All of these things are all set up to entrap us, to keep us in a zoo that we are not meant to be in, and we are meant to be sovereign beings. And one of the things that we talk about in the book a lot is that you actually have the keys to your cell door. We're going to empower you to find that key, and we're going to empower you to use that key and get the fuck out.
Exactly right.
Sorry.
And Carl, one of the other things that the quickest way to come to this realization is to come to grips with the fact that in the eyes of the government and the entities that run the government, you are no more than a profit center to be manipulated.
Yeah.
That is it. You're a profit center to be manipulated.
You're a cylinder in an engine.
Yes.
You're a cylinder in an engine. That's all you are.
Yeah.
Then you can begin to weave your way out of it. Well, I can either choose to play along with that game, or I can say, no, I'm not. No, I'm nobody's profit center to be manipulated. And once you make that decision, then you can start backtracking out of the system. So,
it's funny. Randy Roach and I did a show back in 2009. And the show said humans in captivity. Because that's what we are. See, people think they're free, but they're really not free. There's a lot of things that you can't do because there's laws. There's a lot, like, you own your house, you own your land, but you still have to pay tax on your house and your land. And theoretically, I mean, if you own something, I own this can of soda, or the juices actually, and I can take and do what I want with it. Nobody's going to come to me after I drink it and say, hey, we need this now. But we don't own anything that the government feels would provide us real power.
Right.
And except guns. Except guns. At least in the state of Texas.
Yes. And there's a reason why they want us to do away with our guns, because it's the one thing that's the one thing that keeps the government from being tyrannical.
Yes, and that's why the Second Amendment was put in place, because the founding fathers realized that if you don't have equal firepower, the government will become tyrannical. And look across the globe. look who suffered the most consequences of lockdowns during the scandemic.
Right.
Right. It was in countries that have no gun rights.
Right.
Isn't that interesting?
So let's talk about the zoo. Let's talk about the zoo for a second, and the nutritional portion of this discussion. I've talked on this show numerous times about the San Diego Zoo. I read an article about 5, 6, 7 years ago that the bears at the San Diego Zoo had developed congestive heart failure. Now, bears in the wild don't develop congestive heart failure, and all of the animals in the San Diego Zoo had disorders and diseases very similar to the human population: high blood sugar, dyslipidemia, and you only have to look at their food bowls, because what they're eating is some sort of chow, bear chow, and these chows are big food in the animal world. Purina, all these big companies, so it was very obvious that the food that was being fed to the animals at the San Diego Zoo was causing them to have human-like diseases. And every single day, the media, advertising agencies get into people's heads and make them believe that this is food and that is food, and people eat it. And that is why we have a population nearing 70% overweight or obesity today. So we are in that zoo, just like those animals in the San Diego Zoo, and we're being poisoned by the foods that the zookeeper is convincing us to eat.
Right. Well, that we actually talk about this in the book, is that all of the animals that are in captivity in some type of, like dogs, for instance, cats, that we actually have in our homes as domesticated pets, we feed them the same crap that we've been being fed for over 40 years and been recommended to be eating this way for over 40 years, which has gotten us far more disease, far more just really mental health has gone down the tubes as well. And this is the thing, all of it is tied together. The whole thing, it's not just the physical health, but the mental health of people, because of the foods that they eat, are creating all of these different, particularly mental conditions that are happening. And you see that in animals, particularly in animals in captivity. You see that in them as well. They become very lethargic. They don't even want to have sex and reproduce. And they don't want to do any of that.
That's probably the more insidious point, is this has been perpetrated on us on purpose to make us docile.
Right.
Well, so I'm a huge believer that it's all about greed and money and power.
It is.
So I don't know that the people are being sinister and saying, let's make the American public docile. What they are doing is they're saying, let's make the American public love to eat crap that makes them sick, because on the other side, we have this whole other industry that's going to take care of them for the rest of their lives. Totally. And it's all about money. The one thing that I also wanted to mention, man, there's so many ideas going through my head right now. It's just unbelievable. The idea that, the number one killer of Labrador retrievers and golden retrievers today is cancer.
Right.
The number one treated disease by veterinarians today for dogs is insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes. There's dogs on insulin today. They eat the same foods their master eats. They get the diseases, the same diseases their master gets. This is, people are actually discovering this because of their pets. Because they love their pets, they're going, I've done so many shows on kibble and how bad it is for dogs and cats. Destroys their kidneys, gives them diabetes. Then it's 40, 50, 60% carbohydrates. They don't need all those carbs. Well, people are looking at that and going, wait a minute, this is why my dog is sick. This is why my dog has arthritis. This is why my dog's hair is falling out. This is why my dog is in such pain. And they change the dog's food, usually to a raw or freeze-dried raw. And within months, the dog is doing great. And then all of a sudden they go to themselves, I wonder what the food I'm eating is doing to me.
The light bulb moment.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. Can I circle back real quick to the
Please,
idea that you're not sure about the making people docile? I think it was like 50 years ago, Henry Kissinger said, if you want to control people or you want to control a country, you control their food.
Right.
And that's when all of this started, was 50 years ago of controlling people. This is the deal. We are not controllable if we are healthy.
Right.
We are not controllable if we are critical thinkers. We are not controllable if we are sovereign beings that have our health and can think logically, can think with our prefrontal cortex. And the reason that you see what you see on TV is to put people in fear, because the first thing that happens when somebody goes into a fear state is they lose access to their prefrontal cortex and their ability to make logical and critical thinking decisions. And so for me, my belief system, and I believe I can speak for Keith, is that we do believe that this was done intentionally to make us controllable. Whether it's like docile, whatever, it's control. It's really about control. And so,
it is about profits too, because you can profit off of docile people. You can control them. Ergo, you can control them. And here we are with the manipulable profit center thing. You don't want unruly people. Right. What does a rancher do when he's got an unruly bull? He's got to put that thing down.
Put it down.
Right. You can't have that. You got to put it down. Same thing with people. Right. You can't have, from a government and the entities that run the government's point of view, unruly people are the last thing in the world we want. Critical thinkers are the last thing.
And especially those that are unruly, they're critical thinkers and they own guns.
Yeah, that's...
Well, but you know what the worst part of this is? So the people on the left will say, well, those people are going to do bad things. Because you have the power to protect yourself, because you think critically and you don't follow everybody else, doesn't mean you're a threat to anyone. See, they want to paint the picture of us as threats, gun owners, those who think the pandemic was a scam, or we're conspiracy theorists. Meanwhile, the funny thing is that all the conspiracy theories from 2020, like hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin actually protect you, are all coming to be found out to be true and accurate. And so the conspiracy theorists were actually the intelligent ones who saw this. And the sheep, they were threatened by it because it wasn't what their leaders told them to think.
Right.
Now it's all coming true. The word conspiracy theory was created by either the CIA or the FBI during the when they were testing LSD.
Yes.
I'm trying to
MK Ultra. Yes.
What?
During MK Ultra. Yes.
Yeah, during the MK Ultra, they created this term to distract and diminish what people were saying about the MK Ultra program. Like, they're giving us drugs, we hallucinate, and they were like, oh, they're just conspiracy theorists. That word was created purposefully by the government so that people would look at those people and think, oh, they're crazy, we're not going to listen to what they say.
And when the power of that term was unleashed full force? During the JFK assassination, when people started questioning
the magic bullet.
I don't think that one shooter with one bullet, I don't believe that. And then they got painted as conspiracy theorists. Right. It's a convenient term.
Right.
So
Len Moskowitz is watching. Len Moskowitz used to run Metrics. He's actually going to be on the show because we're going to do a show about Metrics, because Metrics is kind of gone now, and it's just an interesting discussion. He says the issue is not everyone is intelligent. Also, and he's right. So it's estimated that 18% of the population has an IQ below 63, and anything below 69 is considered unteachable. The military won't even take you. Right. So he's right. We have a lot of unintelligent people out there who actually weigh in on policies and decisions. Also, many religions insist on followers, as do governments. And this is true also. We just did a show with Joel Green about tribalism, how tribalism is taken over for critical thinking, where people want to belong to part of a tribe, so they just repeat the mantra, even if it's not accurate or true.
Right.
So we really do have a stupid population today, quite frankly.
And this is, and so what you speak of is how someone can interview an Antifa member or someone in a riot, and they don't even know what they're rioting for.
No.
They can't even say what they're rioting for. They're just following the tribe. They're just rioting. But that's tribalistic thinking, right? I'm giving all my power over to the tribe. I don't even really know what it's about. I don't know what I'm out here, why I'm breaking windows. I kind of don't know. I don't even know, but I'm just following the tribe. And that's the same thing with unquestioning religion, unquestioning anything. And look, I'm not, and I think I could speak for Michelle, I'm not anti-religion at all. What I am is anti-critical thinking, right? Be as religious as you want.
Mean anti-dogma.
Anti-dogma.
You aren't against
anti-dogma. I am all about spirituality, but from my perspective, my spirituality has to be able to hold up to lots of critical thinking and question. Right.
Well, you know what? We were at an event and Les Brown was speaking, and one of the things that he said, if your faith has not been tested, then it's not trustworthy.
Right.
That's not the word he said. I posted it on my thing. But the thing is if your faith cannot be tested, if it cannot stand up to questioning, if it cannot stand up to critical thought, then I'm not really sure what the point of that type of faith is or belief system is in light of the fact that you can't have any questioning to it. That becomes dogma. That's the stuff that we are definitely
and that trickles down into governments, that trickles down into governmental policy, that trickles down to gurus, everything. If that entity blocks your ability to critically question, you better start asking questions, right? There's a reason for that.
What I wish we could get? Remember the first time you watched one of the Animal Kingdom type shows, and they showed you how one lemming would walk off the cliff and the whole tribe would follow.
Totally. Yeah.
We need some human lemmings to get into those tribes that are destroying our country and just walk them off the cliff. Yeah, like this, it would be wonderful because they're stupid enough to follow. If they follow everything else, they'll follow that as well. So David Wilson says, so glad you're having this conversation. We need people who are awake and not woke. That's another thing. So here's another thing that the government and marketers love to do. If something is a stupid idea, all they have to do is call it smart water, smart cars. It's an obviously stupid idea to drive around in a car the size of a roller skate, that if you get hit by any moderate sized car, you're going to be killed immediately. So what do we call it? Let's call it a smart car. And people go, oh, I'm smart if I buy that. I'm smart if I drink this water. You're right. They use the term woke for people who are actually asleep at the wheel of their life.
Right.
And that's all you have to do. Well, I'm woke. I know what's going on. No, you're actually stupid. You're sleeping. You're not paying attention. You're doing things that are not in your own best interest, which from an evolutionary perspective means that you will be wiped off the planet and your genes will be gone, which leads me to this other idea that I have all the time. So we are still evolving and we have selection pressures all around us. It's the ability to survive in these chemically toxic environments today and still have children, the ability to survive in this soup of RF that we live in and still have children, because all selection pressure is up to the point we have offspring and then we're done. Right. So the selection pressure that we're seeing now also is the ability to withstand the suggestion by usually government officials to do things that are not in our own best interest.
Totally.
It's like if the government tells you we need you to tie yourself to that tree to attract the lion so we can shoot it, and you do that, then from an evolutionary perspective, you need to be gone. So I have this dream, and it's going to happen way after you and I are gone. But I'm hoping that because we do have at least half the population that is thinking critically, that's paying attention, that's talking about doing things that are in their own best interest, that 100 years from now, all these stupid people, their genes will be gone from the gene pool, and we will come out the other side with a renaissance of intelligent, hardworking, critical thinkers who will then take our country and our world to a place it can't go with all of these idiots hanging on to us right now.
Right. Well, if we are to survive as a species, that is the trait that we're going to have to carry forward. That is, from my perspective and in my opinion, that is the one trait. We've got the communication and the cooperation thing down. That was passed down to us. Now we need the critical thinking piece to be able to navigate through this. And Carl, I would also say what you're talking about, what you're talking about before was control of language, right? And if you know propaganda, if you know the work of Edward Bernays, language is everything. If you own the language, if you control the language, you control the people. With food, yes, but with language, yes, because now you control their minds.
Right.
And so this is languaging languaging is not good or bad. It's how is it used? Because we can use the same techniques that are used in propaganda in our work to help people, to coach people,
to promote good things, to
promote wellness. Yes, just like money is not good or evil.
The book is called Primal Uprising. There's two ways to get it. You can use our trackable link, shrnetwork.biz/primal, PRIMAL, or you can go to the PaleoFX.com website, PALEOFX.com, and order it there. There's a lot more to this book than what we've just been talking about. So when we come back, we're going to talk about genetics and epigenetics. We're going to talk about training styles that seem to help people age better and stay healthier, because, you can train yourself into sickness too. A lot of people think that, the more I train, the better I'll get. No, there's a point of diminishing returns with training as well.
Yes.
So
you can't out train a shitty diet either.
Yes, you can't out train. Somebody just asked me the other day about losing body fat. And, if I train for 2 hours and I say losing body fat is exclusively calories in, calories out. I know everybody wants to talk about hormones, and yes, hormones play a role, but hormones play a role in creating metabolic rate and energy expenditure. Yes. And if you're not taking in less than you're expending day in and day out, week in and week out, you're not going to get lean. And I don't care. And when people want to argue with me about this, I simply say, ever see a fat person in a concentration camp?
It's an and situation. So when I stand between these two camps, I'm like, you guys are missing the bigger picture. It's an and thing. It's not an or. It's and. Right. It's hormonal, yes, and it's calorie content, both.
Yes. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with more. Stay tuned. You're watching and listening to Superhuman Radio.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
I need to share with you all a revolutionary new wearable technology called HapBee. HapBee allows you to enjoy the effects of caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, melatonin, and muscle relaxants without actually ingesting anything. Yes, really. They figured out the unique magnetic signature of each of these molecules and recorded them. Just put the HapBee on, choose the signal you want, and it starts projecting the magnetic signature of that molecule that you choose, like coffee for feeling alert. Go to hapbee.com/SHR. That's HAPBEE.com/SHR SHR to learn more and unlock an $80 discount exclusively for the Superhuman Radio listeners. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. Paleolithic. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High quality, pasture raised, great tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose to tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/white oak and use code SHR20 to save 20% off your entire first order. Every day, there's a new wellness trend. Eat that. Do this. Avoid those. How do you know where to start or who to trust? Inside Tracker helps you cut through the noise by analyzing your blood, your DNA, your lifestyle, and your fitness tracker to provide you with a science-backed, trackable action plan on how to live, age, and perform better. Personalized, one-size-fits-one recommendations to help you optimize you. For a limited time, Inside Tracker is offering Superhuman Radio listeners 25% off the entire store. Go to shrnetwork.biz/inside tracker, INSIDETRACKER, to save 25% off. Change begins on the inside.
This is the Superhuman Channel, doing reps with the weight of the world.
Welcome back. Well, now my green screen is gone completely. Give me 1 second. This thing is a pain in the ass. It changes on its own. It's very finicky. 1 minute I'm a ghost. The next minute I'm sitting in front of a green sheet of bedroom sheet. So I want to share an idea with you that to me, for some reason, is so fascinating. And maybe you've heard of it and you're thinking, yeah, we know about that. We talk about epigenetics all the time. Epigenetics are amazing. I mean, the idea of epigenetics frees people from being hostages to their genetics, obviously. But epigenetics is so much more than we ever thought they were. There was a study done with rats. Male rats were given the smell of dark cherries and zapped with electrical shocks for some period of time, weeks, months, whatever. And then they fathered some baby rats. And the baby rats, when they smelled the cherry, panicked. They went into, fear. Yep. They ran, they froze, which means that epigenetics isn't just a blueprint for what makes us healthy. We are passing intelligence along epigenetically. It's why a baby deer, not in spots, because they'll lay there. They don't know what to do. But once a baby deer starts moving around, how do they know to be afraid of humans? They've never seen a human before, but instinctively. So time is going to show that epigenetics and transgenerational epigenetics passes along intelligence, which means that you inherit your IQ to some degree.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And we see this. So part of our other work is working with people and coaching them through traumas. That's part of the other work we do. And when you dive into this, and this may skew very woo, but this is what we see in practice, you can see generational traumas show up in a person. Generational traumas as real to them as if it happened to them. So yes, the good and the bad can get passed down generational lines. Totally.
Well, look at the two countries that have suffered major famines that actually have wiped out portions of the population, Ireland and Russia. They also have the highest rate of depression and alcoholism.
It's true.
And that's evidence of transgenerational epigenetic intelligence being passed along.
Right. Now, on the flip side of this, Carl, what's very, very optimistic is the work that Bruce Lipton has done that demonstrates without a doubt that your thinking and your emotional state can actually affect you at a cellular level. And that's beyond dispute. That happens. We have that capability to reprogram everything.
And what's so a couple of years ago, I was speaking at a conference, and I spoke right after Dr. Christopher Shade, and one of the things that he said, and it's stuck with me. I was like, I wrote it down, and I've like repeated this many, many times because it is really important for us to really get this. Is that we are the only species that can have a thought and completely change our entire chemical makeup in seconds. Mm-hmm. Our whole chemical makeup completely changes because of a thought in our head.
Right.
So what are the thoughts that you're putting into your head? Are you watching TV every freaking day and listening to the nonsense that's going on TV that's perpetrating all this fear, all of the things? This is what's really shocking to me about particularly COVID, and there's been a lot of beautiful things that have come out of COVID. So I've got that one side of it and then the other side, because we know you need to hold both. But one of the things that's really tremendously, like, I just like question, we are all consumed. We have shut down an entire globe, and almost an entire globe of people, businesses, schools, churches, like you said, everything for the last 18 months over it's really the flu. It isn't even a virus. It's the flu. And we have shut it down for a survival rate that is 99.28%, 82%, 99.82. The flu is a 95% survival rate. This has a higher survival rate, and we've never shut down the entire world for a flu, not even the Spanish flu. And this is what's really interesting to me, is that people they don't critically think this through. Like, why are we all wearing masks? Why, when they don't work? First of all, they do not work. And I actually got COVID because I was wearing a mask, because it trapped the virus in the mask that I was actually breathing it in repeatedly. It was myself and two girlfriends, and all three of us got it. And we were all wearing masks the entire time because it was still mandated here in the state of Texas. And the thing is that we're all in this tremendous amount of fear over this kind of a survival rate. It makes no sense whatsoever. And the thing is that it only affects really the lower survival rate is still really high, and is actually higher than the average flu for people that are over 70. Right. So the whole thing is like just
because it's theatrics. It's theatrics. People watch the news. They're told you're going to die from this, and they believe it. And because they don't critical think, it's really sad what's been perpetrated on our country, and really on a global basis.
Yeah,
is very, very sad. And I want to see it go away. I want to see these people who profited from destroying America. I want to see them go to jail. I want to see things happen to them that should happen to them, that happen to other people who do horrible things. The problem is they are part of the elite ruling class, and they have complete immunity.
Right.
If you really want to change government, and if somebody said to me, Carl, you get one wish and one wish only to change government, what would it be? I would do away with sovereign immunity. I would do away with the protection that, I was the mayor of that city when I destroyed that city, so I can't be held accountable. Right. Because you do away with sovereign immunity, and then you go back to a guy like Cuomo. Like Cuomo's not going to go to jail because he was the governor, and he has sovereign immunity. But if you could go back to him and say, you killed all these people, you're going to jail for the rest of your life. Now, all the other politicians out there will go, what? You mean if I make a mistake, I don't get a free pass because I'm a mayor, a governor, or a police chief? No, you go to jail like everybody else. You see how fast government changes. Sovereign immunity is the one thing that we need to do away with.
Well, that, and I also believe that we really need to do away with the illusion of a two-party system. because this is the deal. At the end of the day, we can all claim, okay, liberal and conservative, right, left, red, blue, you name it, whatever. It doesn't matter. They're two sides of the same coin, and they're both equally in bed and corrupt as either side. So this is the thing. There's no winning with the two. It is, again, dividing us between left and right, red and blue, Democrat, Republican, all of the things. It's all ridiculous. And at the end of the day, what do we have? We keep putting up, this is what gets me. We are the United States of America. And we have the most intelligent, innovative people in this country. And we are an amazing country. There's not another country like us. And actually everybody's looking to us to see what we do in this exact moment of history, particularly in this country. But what is shocking to me is that the best we've got is Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Like, are you kidding me with this? Like, this is the best we can do?
Carl, I see it. It's the AFC and the NFC, and they're both under the control of the NFL. The NFL doesn't care who wins the Super Bowl.
No.
They could care less, right? That's government in a nutshell.
Right.
So they're all playing for the same team.
Yeah.
They just come at it from a different angle. And Carl, I would say one thing on the fear side of things. When I was in the military, I went to what's called evasion school. Evasion school is what happens to you if you get captured behind enemy lines. This is what's going to happen to you. And here is how you can resist. Every tactic that you see played out right now, spinning, the first thing you do, install fear, install fear, install fear. The second thing you do,
Confusion.
Keep them confused. Keep them thoroughly confused. In that atmosphere, a person will, even a strong person will do anything to get out of that situation. Fear and confusion are two massively motivators. You will do anything to avoid long-term being in fear and confusion.
Right.
And in that way, the entities that run this show can control an entire populace. Those who are not awake and hip to what's going on. Oh, I see what you're doing. Spinning fear, spinning confusion. I'm not having it.
Right. That's the whole thing is we got the fear. Then we got the confusion. We had Anthony Fauci telling us nobody should be wearing a mask.
No mask.
No mask. It's all ridiculous.
It's purposeful confusion. It's exactly what it is. Yeah.
This is my thing. I hope for our sake that Fauci ends up going to jail for what he has done to this country and to the rest of the world. This is not the
first time he's done it. So people who aren't old enough don't remember that Fauci fought hard to get AZT approved for HIV patients, and the drug killed them faster than the AIDS did. And this is not his first time hurting people in the United States.
It's not.
And it's funny because so many people do not understand and know that story and know what he did. And the thing is that man needs to be in prison for everything that he has done to this country, both back in the 80s to particularly, this is the thing, the gay community was devastated by what he did in the AIDS era.
Not only did he hurt them, did he hurt them by handing over a very profitable opportunity to drug manufacturers that he was in bed with, but he also shut down. And there were in Texas, there was a movie called the Texas Buyers Club. There was an Austin Buyers Club. Yeah, there were buyers clubs all over Texas where they were going to Mexico and getting anabolic steroids and growth hormone, bringing them back up and giving them to HIV patients and prolonging their lives, the quality of their lives. And he made sure they were shut down, just like he did with the hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin. He told, look, I have a prescription for azithromycin. Twice a year, I take a Z-Pack because it removes senescent cells from the body. Yeah. When it was time for me to get my prescription last year, they wouldn't give it to me. I said, why? They said, you have to have your doctor contact us. We have to understand why you're taking it, because they thought I was taking it because I had COVID.
Right.
They wouldn't give it to me.
Right.
Isn't that interesting?
That's mandated from the government. That starts above. The government says that pharmacies don't fill prescriptions for azithromycin because we want them to come in here and be tested so we can get them on the vaccine.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
What's interesting though too is I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe you have. Is it Eden? What's his name?
Yeah, Michael Eden,
the former vice president of Pfizer, who's out there like he's being trashed big time, but he's out there telling. Yeah, he is a conspiracy theorist, and he's out there talking to people about. I mean, he's the former vice president of Pfizer. He knows the thing or two about big pharma.
Yeah.
He knows how it operates. He knows a lot. He's a virologist, so he understands viruses. He knows immunology, so he understands that. And he's talking about that this vaccine needs to immediately be stopped, that people need to actually do the things that will actually take care of their immune system because their body can heal from all of this. And that there's no reason to have a vaccine, especially if you've had COVID, because you have immunity for life. And it doesn't matter he said the nonsense around a mutant or a variant of a virus is absolute nonsense because you have immunity for life when you have any type of this type of infection, because your body, even if it skews 80%, even if it completely mutates 80%, he said your body still recognizes that and will still attack it.
So here's something interesting. Dr. Suzanne Turner was on the show yesterday because I started doing episodes of Muscle Saves Lives, the COVID files. We hear about people dying from COVID. I want to talk to people who survived COVID. How bad was it really and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Since she's a doctor, she has a unique perspective as both a patient and a doctor.
Right.
And so she had been tested last year, the end of last year, for antibodies. And she had none. She got COVID 6 weeks ago. She got over it. She had a fever for 3 hours. She felt really crappy for 3 days. She got tested for antibodies. She had a myriad of antibodies, not just the spike protein antibody, but all these others. And she said she thinks that when you get COVID and you fight it yourself, your body doesn't just produce antibodies for that. It produces all these other antibodies.
Exactly. Why would an intelligent immune system do otherwise?
Right.
I mean, I will side with nature every time. Nature created a very, very robust system. You push the system, you stress the system, it bounces back
stronger,
better, stronger. It's just like trading.
It's also like breaking a bone.
It's like your bone.
Your bone's going to heal itself and
stronger. It gets stronger in that area.
In the space that you broke it.
And so absolutely the immune system is going to spread out and take care of not only that affront, but the affronts that border it. It's intelligent that way.
I want to take our last commercial break, and when we come back, I want to focus on the book itself. The book is called Primal Uprising. It's so much more than just about health, as you can see. It's about regaining your freedom, which includes your health. shrnetwork.biz/primal or go to paleofx.com. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio, and I promise we'll talk about the book exclusively.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Paleolithic. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/whiteoak and use code code SHR20 to save 20% off your entire first order. I need to share with you all a revolutionary new wearable technology called HapBee. HapBee allows you to enjoy the effects of caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, melatonin, and muscle relaxants without actually ingesting anything. Yes, really. They figured out the unique magnetic signature of each of these molecules and recorded them. Just put the HapBee on, choose the signal you want, and it starts projecting the magnetic signature of that molecule that you choose, like coffee for feeling alert. Go to hapbee.com/SHR. That's HAPBEE.com/SHR to learn more and unlock an $80 discount exclusively for the Superhuman Radio listeners. If there is one mineral you should be worried about not getting enough of, it's magnesium. Magnesium is the body's master mineral, powering over 300 critical reactions, including detoxification, fat metabolism, energy, and even digestion is influenced by the presence of magnesium. That's why I'm so excited to tell you about a new magnesium product I've been taking now called Magnesium Breakthrough. It's the ultimate magnesium supplement, easily the best I've ever seen or experienced. With all 7 forms of magnesium, I was able to arrange an amazing deal for my audience, and I guarantee it's the best deal available on this product. Seriously, with volume discounts combined with our custom 10% coupon code SHR10, you can save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. And I promise that this deal is only available on this specific website, magbreakthrough.com/SHR. You won't find that deal on Amazon or even on the company's own website. Go to magbreakthrough.com/SHR and use code SHR10 to save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000, or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today.
This is the Superhuman Channel. Evolution just got kicked up a notch.
Welcome back. There's a URL that you can use to go directly to the book on the PaleoFX website. It's paleofx.com/Primal Uprising, all one word, and that'll get you there faster, so you don't have to just browse around the website. So,
Unless you want to.
yeah, of course, browse around if you want. So, the book says the PaleoFX Guide to Optimizing Your Health, Expanding Your Mind, and Reclaiming Your Freedom. Dave Asprey wrote a beautiful write-up about this book. What makes this book different than some of the other books out there that people are being told to read right now about health and fitness?
Well, what's different about this book is really the idea that you are a sovereign being and that you have all the power and all the answers that you need to your own health and your own to create the life that you want within you. And you don't need anybody else for anything to be able to do that. And so what we talk about, all of the different things that you get you, because you have the keys to the cell door of being in the human zoo. You've got the keys to your own cell door. You just need to know where to find them and how to get to them, because at the end of the day, all the powers that be, particularly all the bigs, big ag, big pharma, big business, big tech, big healthcare, big banking, all of that has all been set up to enslave you and for you to be a profit center for these entities. And so everything, including our language, we're programmed immediately as we start growing up, and with no fault of our parents, because they've been programmed. It goes back generations and generations and generations for thousands of years.
Give me an example. Give me an example of the language part of this.
Well, one of the things that I find very probably one of the things that's most disempowering to people is the fact that we are constantly told to seek something outside of ourselves,
right,
in order to have freedom, to have
validation.
Power, validation. All of these things have been set up for us to constantly seek outside of ourselves for our happiness, for just our empowerment. And the thing is that everything is within you. And one of the things that I say many times too is that while a lot of particularly religions get very dogmatic about what you are supposed to do and whether you are worthy or you are not worthy. And at the end of the day, one of the things that Jesus said repeatedly was the kingdom of God is within you, not outside of you.
Right.
It is within you. And my belief at this time, I was raised Christian. I was raised Baptist, actually, and then I became Catholic, and then I walked away from that. But the thing is that at the end of the day, I was constantly seeking something outside of myself to validate who I am. And I honestly believe that the second coming of Christ is not an external event. It's not. We're not going to see Christ come on the cloud, come back to return and save everybody and tell you go get your vaccine and go make sure you're wearing your masks. We're not going to see that. Now, I believe that that's going to be perpetrated on us. And I believe that they have the technology to do that. And they have been testing these things all over the world to try to control people. But at the end of the day, the second coming is when you recognize that it's already inside of you, that you already have it, that the Holy Spirit is yours and belongs to you and is inside of you already.
Carl, here's an example of critical thought. If we go back to early Christianity, since we're on the Christianity thing right now, go back to early Christianity. What was the one sect that the church annihilated pretty much off the face of the earth? And we only know about them because of the Nag Hammadi library, the vessels that were found. That was the Gnostic Christians. The underpinning of Gnostic Christianity is you are God within. You don't have to seek outside of you.
Yeah, they don't like that because then you have to go. Then you don't need them. You don't need them.
Exactly. The church was like, oh no. That message is going to die. That's not a good
let's not forget that Christianity in general was viewed that way by the Catholic Church.
Totally.
Because the Catholic Church wanted you to go to the priest. So
Right.
the priest would talk to God on your behalf.
Yes.
And Christianity said, you can talk to God yourself. You can have they thought you have a personal relationship with your Lord and Savior. The Catholics didn't like that. They were like, oh, wait a minute. Then they don't need us.
And the epitome of that thought was the Gnostics.
Right.
That's why there was hellfire rained upon them, and they were run out. They don't want. That's the original critical thinkers right there, right? No, we don't want that message.
But this is the one thing that's really interesting to me, and I find it so fascinating. And Elaine Pagels is a scholar in all of this, and really talks about a lot of this. Is that the only Gnostic gospel that got into the Bible is the Book of Revelation. And why do you think the Book of Revelation was put into the Bible? Because it will control people through fear. It will keep people in a state of fear for an event that has been told to us repeatedly is coming, when that book is actually about an event that already happened. It's about when it's when Rome conquered Jerusalem, and that is what the entire book of Revelation is about, is a past event. And so that is why my belief around the second coming is not an external event, it's internal. It's when you realize you already have it.
It's when you wake up.
It's when you
the Gospel of Thomas is a fantastic book. Absolutely.
Corwin McLeod says the Gospel of Thomas is a great book. I'm not familiar. I'm not a Bible reader. What is the Gospel of Thomas? Do you know?
The Gospel of Thomas is one of the Gnostic Gospels. It was recovered in the Nag Hammadi library when that library was discovered. And I say library loosely. It was scrolls that were shoved in vases and hidden.
Right.
As the Gnostics were retreating and trying to get out of Dodge and save their lives, they hid their wares in a cave in Nag Hammadi, and these were discovered 2,000-ish years later. And so that's what he's referring to, is the Gospel of Thomas was one of the more intact Gospels that was recovered. And it casts such a different light on Christian thought. I can say this, after reading a lot of Elaine Pagels and reading a lot of Gnostic Christianity, it really brought me back around to Christianity seen through another lens.
Yeah, because you're like me. See, I have a hard time with all religion because I'm a critical thinker.
Yes.
But the thing is, the Gnostic Christians were critical thinkers.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Well, that, and they were also, this is what's interesting. In my opinion, this is when the original fake news started.
Totally.
The original fake news began back then because they were the truthers, and the when we have the Council of Nicene, of course they come in and they're like, oh, no, we need to control what gets into the Bible. So these are the actual books that we're going to allow to be in the Bible and allow because, these people could actually they could be harmful. It's kind of like the whole fake news thing. This information could be harmful to people because they're not coming to.
It will empower them. It will empower them.
You can't empower people.
The Council of Nicaea just kind of transferred into Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, exactly.
So we get to control the information for you. We're trying to save you people and give you credible information.
Yeah, because you're not smart enough to take care of yourself.
Yeah, because you're not smart enough to figure it out on your own.
Right.
So, yeah.
So the book is called Primal Uprising. You can get it one of two ways. You can go to shrnetwork.biz/primal, or you could use this URL, which is paleofx.com/primal uprising. And the book promises to not only teach you the secrets of how to age better, be fitter, look better, but also how to regain your own portion of freedom that you're missing right now. Because, and when we say this, people think, well, what freedom? It's the freedom of your mind, the way you think about things, the way you approach your life. The mistakes you make could be driven by the bad thinking that you're using. So, freedom isn't always walls.
Right.
Sometimes it's an invisible environment that you create for yourself that keeps you stuck where you are.
Absolutely. And you have the keys to break free of that prison if you so choose.
Right.
When is the next Paleo FX for the listeners?
So the next Paleo FX is April 29th through May the 1st, 2022. 2022.
Yeah. So this year is almost over anyway. So, I'm not trying to rush it, but I was happy when 2020 was over. And ironically, I think I'll be happier when 2021 is over.
As we all
I do have to say, though, one of the things that I feel like was a blessing with 2020 was we had a lot of people wake up last year. We had a whole lot of people who finally understood the importance of their health and are now taking measures and really the other thing is really waking up to the fact that we have been used as profit centers and as a slave race for us to be profit centers for the elite ruling class.
I always say, Carl, strong people physically and mentally are harder to kill.
They definitely are.
And that's the truth. And also, our government missed an opportunity, and it really showed their colors. Mm-hmm. They could have talked about people starting to think about their health moving forward for the next pandemic.
Yep.
They really don't care about people's health. The truth is, they don't care about any of this at all.
No.
They just care about running the country and building their fiefdoms and padding their pockets and staying in power.
Yep.
You know what? If I had a British accent, we would sound like we were back in King Henry's days, because that's exactly what they said back then too. We have been dealing with government overreach since the beginning of time.
That is what governments do.
Yes.
That is the natural course of governments, which is why, getting back to our founding fathers, why they put so many checks and balances in place and gave you the Second Amendment.
That's right.
They understood the course that all governments take.
That's it. They knew what they were doing. They were probably the last altruistic type of government we have ever had.
I think so, yes.
I definitely think so. And it's really interesting, too, because when you look at and you go back and you start reading some of the quotes from our founding fathers, you realize how nothing that's happened in the last 18 months is anything new.
Right.
It's what they've already been through, and it's already and they just figured it's coming again. So everybody, and it's kind of that whole thing. Do you want peaceful slavery, or do you want dangerous freedom?
Right. And that's really what it boils down to.
And when you yes, they did own slaves. Completely.
So this is where it takes critical thinking, right? You take the good and you disavow the bad.
Yeah.
Right. This is
but you know what the funny thing about slavery is? Like, people always throw up this thing and they own slaves, like somehow they were evil. You know, is it called Schadenfreude? No, there's a term for rating past generations by today's standards. It's not Schadenfreude. It's something else.
No. Yeah, that's Schadenfreude.
They own slaves, and let's go back even further. In Britain, they used to have not only slaves, but they hung people in the public and they tore them in pieces, and they did all sorts of barbaric things. You know, we can't keep holding past sins of past generations over future generations. Len, would you want your grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren to be held accountable for the sins of your great-great-grandfather or my great-great? Of course not. So we're all, you know, people always want to drag up the past and say, well, they did this and they did that. Yeah, they owned slaves because that was the thing to do back then.
Yep.
Okay, let's see it. But they didn't all own slaves.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Carl, I've had this discussion with this, and yes, they did all own slaves because they couldn't all afford slaves. So there's that. Here's the other thing. Our great grandchildren are going to look back on us as being absolutely barbaric for driving cars.
Right.
You drove cars. How many people died every year in an auto accident, and yet y'all went out and worshipped cars? This is, I mean, you just continued. How barbaric? Well, that's because that is our culture. That for better or worse, this is how we transport ourselves. I would love something better.
Yeah,
it's not on the horizon, right? Our great grandchildren are going to hold us accountable to that.
And the other thing, Len, is my people didn't own slaves. I'm 14% Northern African. The rest of me Italian. We didn't own slaves, but I'm being treated like everybody else, like I own slaves. This whole thing is nonsense today. I do my own lawn. No, I have a gardener. Okay, so you got me there. But he's not a slave. He gets paid very, very well. Right. So anyway.
See, the interesting thing too is at what point do we help? What point do we help everyone when we continue this perpetuation of you've got to pay for the sins of possibly your? I don't believe my aunt did very extensive genealogy in our family, and my family was not wealthy Northern Europeans, so I don't believe my ancestors actually owned any slaves. Right. They could have. I don't know that for a fact, but I believe that everything that I've seen so far in the genealogy that she did, and she did very extensive genealogy. This is something she really loved. Was that we were very poor. My ancestors were very poor, and we were mostly Northern European, and I do have West African in my genes, according to 23andMe. And so that the thing is at the end of the day, do we we're all in a type of modern slavery because of the systems that are in place right now. All of us, not just people of color, not just Hispanics, not just Asians, but it is all of us. And until we get rid of these systems, we're going to continue to have the racism. We're going to continue to have all of these things.
It's a different type of enslavement.
Exactly. It's a different type of enslavement. And the thing is the worst enslavement is the one of enslaving your mind.
Right. Us perpetuating that enslavement by not using the keys to get out of our own self.
Right.
That is the true enslavement these days.
The book is Primal Uprising. You can get it at shrnetwork.biz/primal or go to paleofx.com/primal uprising. Keith and Michelle, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
And we'll see you soon. And we'll see everybody. I'm off the air tomorrow because it's my birthday. I was going to do a show for my birthday, but I decided not to. I think I'm just going to take it easy tomorrow. So we'll be back on the air Monday. In the meantime, please pass the show around, share the show, and help somebody else. We'll see you next week. Thanks for being here.